What happens when a country music star who rebuilt his entire life after addiction and prison ends up sitting across from a talk show host who believes she always knows better than everyone else? What unfolds is one of the most explosive, uncomfortable, and unforgettable moments ever broadcast on daytime TV. Jelly Roll, the heavily tattooed giant with a heart that people can feel when he speaks, walked onto the set of The View expecting a straightforward conversation about his music, his transformation, and his climb from the bottom to national fame. Instead, he found himself face to face with Joy Behar, who seemed determined to pull him apart on live television. This isn't your typical celebrity interview gone sideways. This is a complete lesson in how one person's ego can push someone to their limit. Before we get into this unbelievable situation, take a second to subscribe and leave a comment, because after you hear everything that happened, you're definitely going to have a lot to say. The studio lights were blazing hot that Tuesday morning as Jelly Roll straightened his black button-up shirt and took his seat in the famous View chair. The audience was buzzing with anticipation, and many of them long-time fans who had followed his powerful comeback from a rough past to major chart success. Whoopi Goldberg had just wrapped up the opening bit, and the whole room felt upbeat, lively, almost electric. Jason Durford, known to the world as Jelly Roller, had been genuinely excited about this interview. He saw it as a chance to talk about his new music, his mission to fix parts of the criminal justice system, and maybe inspire someone out there who thought they were beyond saving. "Our next guest has had quite a journey," Whoopi said warmly, "from time behind bars to topping the country charts. Please welcome Jelly Roll." The audience erupted, clapping loudly as Jelly Roll waved with a smile that could soften even the toughest heart. He had that undeniable charm that people felt instantly. "Thank you all so much for having me," he said, his deep voice carrying that familiar southern cadence that millions recognized. "I've watched this show for years, so this is honestly pretty wild for me." Sarah Haynes jumped in with the first questions, easy ones about his collaborations, his tour, his creative process. Jelly Roll answered with the gratitude and humility that had made so many people root for him. He spoke about music saving his life, about his daughter being the reason he turned things around, and about wanting to help others who were struggling as he once did. "A lot of people look at someone like me and make assumptions before they know anything," he said, leaning forward slightly. "The tattoos, my past, a broken bar, all that. But I hope people understand we all have the ability to grow and change." The audience was captivated. This was the Jelly Roll they adored, honest, raw, open, and unafraid to admit every painful detail of what he'd lived through. Alyssa Farah Griffin asked about his work helping former inmates re-enter society, and Jelly Roll's face lit up as he described the programs he supports. "I've been where they are," he said passionately. "I know what it's like to feel like the world's given up on you. But people can change. They just need support and real chances." And Lena Joy Behar decided it was time to speak. She had that expression long-time viewers knew too well, the one she wore right before dropping a comment meant to stir controversy. "Well, that's all very sweet and motivational," Joy said, her tone dripping with a kind of sarcasm you could almost see. "But let's not ignore the obvious. You spent years breaking the law. You dealt drugs. You were in prison. Now you're sitting here talking about second chances like you're some authority on rehabilitation." The room went dead silent. The shift in energy was instant and sharp. Jelly Roll's smile faded a little, but he stayed calm, clearly trying to stay respectful. "I think my history gives me a perspective that's worth sharing," he said steadily. "I'm not claiming to be an expert on anything except my own life, but if talking about what I've been through helps even one person, then I think it's worth doing." Joy wasn't finished. She leaned back with that familiar smirk that suggested she thought she was making a brilliant point. "Isn't it a little convenient that now that you're famous and making money, suddenly you're reformed?" she asked. "How do we know this isn't just strategic PR?" Jelly Roll's jaw tightened for a split second. His hands tensed before he forced them to relax. The other hosts looked visibly uneasy now, sensing the interview was taking a hostile turn. "Joy," he said with a warning edge in his tone. These aren't rehearsed lines. This is my life. Nothing about this is convenient. But Joy was already diving deeper. It's easy to talk about redemption, she continued. What about the people you hurt? What about the neighborhoods damaged by the drug activity you were part of? The room felt colder. Jelly Roll's entire demeanor shifted. The fire behind his eyes said everything, as Joy had hit a boundary she shouldn't have touched. You want to talk about the people I hurt? Jelly Roll said, his voice rising. Then let's talk about it. I've spent every day since getting clean trying to make up for my past. Joy, either unaware or unconcerned about the rising tension, kept going. But that doesn't erase anything, does it? She said bluntly. That doesn't bring back the people who died from overdoses. You can't just sing your way out of accountability. And that was the moment everything cracked. Jelly Roll stood up so quickly that his chair rolled back. His towering frame cast a shadow over the desk as he slammed his voice into the room with a force that startled everyone. Are you serious right now? He thundered. You think I don't carry that weight every single day? You think I don't know exactly what I did? The audience gasped loudly. Camera operators scrambled. Producers panicked. Whoopi stared, stunned. Sarah covered her mouth. Alyssa froze. Joy, however, looked almost smug, like she'd been waiting for this explosion. There it is, she said, gesturing toward him. The real you. Underneath all that redemption talk, still the same angry criminal. The silence was suffocating. Jelly Roll's breathing was heavy, controlled only by sheer willpower. And when he spoke again, his voice was lower, scarier than when he was shouting. You want to see the real me? He growled. The real me spent 3 years in jail thinking about every person I hurt. The real me goes to funerals for friends who didn't survive the life I lived. The real me wakes up every day trying to keep others from making the same mistakes. Joy tried jumping in, but Jelly Roll's voice sliced right through. You wanted this conversation. We're having it. You sit up here judging people like me from your high seat. But what have you survived? What have you overcome? You don't understand redemption because you've never needed it. The camera zoomed in on Joy's face. For the first time, she looked uneasy. I'm just asking questions, she muttered weakly. Someone has to hold people accountable. Accountable? He echoed with a cold laugh. I hold myself accountable every day. What are you doing besides tearing people down? Whoopi tried stepping in again, but Jelly Roll wasn't finished. Let me tell you the difference between me and you, he said. I admit when I'm wrong. I don't pretend to be morally superior while stepping on people just to get a reaction. Joy's face reddened with anger. How dare you call me a bully? What else would you call this? He shot back. You're not asking questions. You're pushing a narrative here that people with a past don't deserve a future. Joy raised her voice. I know how to spot fake transformations. Jelly Roll stared at her, hurt flashing across his expression before hardening. When he spoke, it wasn't anger anymore. It was heartbreak. What I really am, he said slowly, is a father trying to make his daughter proud. What I really am is someone who fights every day to stay away from the man I used to be. But what you area broken bar is someone who gets paid to tear folks down. The studio was silent. Even Joy didn't speak. You could have used this moment, Jelly Roll said, to talk about addiction, about rebuilding lives. Instead, you used it to be cruel. Joy tried pushing back again, but her voice had lost its bite. Jelly Roll, meanwhile, only grew steadier. You want to judge me? Go ahead. But judge me for what I do now. Judge me for the people I help, not for who I used to be. He turned to the audience, to the cameras, to everyone watching at home. And for anyone out there who thinks they can't change because someone like her tells them they're stuck with their past, don't believe it. You can change. You can rebuild. You can become someone better. The room was overwhelmed with silence, a real, powerful silence. Even Joy Behar didn't have a comeback. And for the first time all morning, she looked like someone who finally realized just how wrong she'd been.